have skin in the game. Let's say you're right about this, and we've got to spread the wealth. I think you and I could disagree on some of the particulars of that, but I'll defer to you on that for making this argument. If so few, whether the corporations or the well-to-do, are footing the bill and paying the taxes, and 47% are not paying any income taxes, federal income taxes. By the way, Ralph, I take nothing away from those who pay Social Security taxes, from those who are retired, who spent a life paying taxes. I'm not here to minimize their contributions or get into a class warfare with you. I am saying that when I left and graduated from grad school, that figure was around 24%. It's ballooned to almost half. How is that constructive to what Ralph Nader wants to do when so few appear to have skin in the game?
Oh, I mean, first of all, you raise the minimum wage to the level of 1968, adjusted for inflation. That's tens of billions of dollars for 30 million workers who are making less now than workers made in 1968.
All right, and what would that translate to? A minimum wage of what today?
To $10.30. That's the equivalent of 1968.
Okay,
you got 70% of the people
I'll even give you
behind
that one. We can argue about how effective that will be for small business owners and their willingness to hire. Obviously, that lifts their worth, that raises their base. They become tax-paying Americans. Then what? How much of a difference do you think that weighs? How much will that bring down that 47%? Maybe to 40%?
Yeah, but that's the easy one. That's the quick one. But others are more effective. If you have a public works program, these are well-paying jobs, and they'll pay income tax. But you see, I think we should tax first speculative stock transactions, tax pollution, carbon tax. Even Exxon is okay with that. Tax corporate crime, tax addictive products before we tax work. And also, we should have a national debate on a progressive consumption tax. But if you're automatically
coming in taxing, I know you don't like Wall Street. I know you have an intrinsic distrust of the financial guys, much of that deserved over the years. If you're right from the get-go setting up a series of punitive taxes, or just more taxes, who would invest in an environment and in a country that does that?
Well, you tax things that society wants to diminish. That's why there's a tobacco tax, for example. You tax things.
So we want to diminish our stock market? We want to diminish capitalism? We want to diminish free enterprise?
No, we want to diminish corporate crime. We want to diminish pollution. We want to diminish.
I know, but for going after the few criminals, think about this, Ralph. For going after the few criminals, are you destroying it for those who, and I know you find this startling to believe, are not criminal, are not crooked, that just because they work on Wall Street, they're not Lucifer?
No, you don't tax corporations that aren't engaged in criminal behavior. What you do tax is a tier.
No one puts on their 1040. What do? Criminal behavior.
You don't tax wild six-tier speculation, bets on bets on bets, derivatives. That's just casino capitalism, as Business Week called it. Right. It's not productive. And that's the problem. These corporations are sitting on $2 trillion of money. They're not giving adequate dividends to their owners, who they've stripped of any power.
Now, why are they sitting on that? A lot of them fear they don't know what's happening on taxes. A lot of them fear they're double taxed for bringing money that's already been taxed back home. A lot of them fear regulations, the same stuff you seem to like. And a lot of them fear health care law that just gets messier and uglier by the day. So the better part of valor for these guys, I know you don't like them, is to sit tight on their cash.
And a lot of them don't want to give dividends back to their shareholders, number one. And a lot of them aren't paying any federal income tax.
There might be very little appetite, period, when we're going to tax dividends at the top income rate. Why should they bother?
I agree with Ronald Reagan. He taxed dividends, capital gains, and ordinary income all at the same. Even Steven. Is Ronald Reagan too radical for Fox News and Neil Cavuto?
Well, but as I told you before, we talked about this, Ronald Reagan in the 1986 Tax Act did try to close loopholes to get rid of special allowances and credits. Yeah. You're quite right to make sure you expanded the tax base, and those who were avoiding paying taxes did not. So you're quite right about that. But the idea wasn't to just willy-nilly raise taxes. It was to close loopholes that prevented so many from paying taxes. Here's what I want to ask you. You trust the government to handle this. I do not. You give the government a virtue that I do not share. You trust the government to zero in and address these enterprises. I do not. Disavow me of my concern.
And listen, Neil, you can't count the number of times we've sued government. So don't put words in my mouth. I want the people to control the government. I don't want a few corporations to control a majority of members of Congress and shovel cash to nullify votes. That's number one. Number two, Mitt Roulette, he should be called Mitt Roulette Romney, is so far to the right of Ronald Reagan.
Doesn't have a good ring to it.
Is so far to the right of Reagan, so far to the right of Nixon. And so are the Republicans in Congress. We're dealing here with a rogue Republican Party. And the fact is that the Democrats cannot landslide
You say they're
them.
both failing us. So by the same time you're saying both parties are failing us, you are putting more trust in a government that by and large you think will get it right, right? Bottom line?
No, I want better elected officials which shape the future of our government. Therefore, I want more voter choice. I mean, they locked up Jill Stein of the Green Party, 8 hours chained during the debate in Hofstra because she wanted to highlight the fact that third parties are shut out of the debate system.
Well, Ralph, I want to have you back. Unfortunately, I'm a creature of my corporate time, but it's always good to have you. 17 Solutions, Bold Ideas for American Future.
Here it is.
He'll make you think. You will think. He's hawking a book now. That'll